Swagger on point when I step in. Signs in the air for the gang that you're repping. Don't get brave when I'm stepping in the rave. If you show man love, everything's okay. So looking for a lively rave to have fun in. If there ain't girls in the place, we ain't coming. Middle finger up to the Jake, stepping in with the gang. Please tell the police they can't come in. Show me a salute, that's gang. Pure love for the crew, that's gang. Don't chat shit if you ain't gonna bang. Just show man a sign if you're down for the gang. Show me a salute, that's gang. Pure love for the crew, that's gang. Don't chat shit if you ain't gonna bang. Just show man a sign if you're down for the gang. Man a sign if you're down for the gang.
Can't fuck with the gang, we don't fucking pretend. We be busting the clubs, cause you know that we can. Can't fuck with the gang, we don't fucking pretend. Still rocking the show, still feeling the flow.
Welcome back, Juventini, to the Juventinita Back to Black and White podcast. My name is Daniel Anigro, and I'm live from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Obviously, today, it's going to be a little bit backwards, but we're going to be covering the post-match of Juve-Udinese. I needed some closure. And obviously, we've been getting into some, a little bit of difficulties. Obviously, rearranging. I've been really busy at work. Really busy. I've been working overtime the past 4 days, so it's been quite difficult, obviously, to watch the games. And obviously, these games being 3 days apart doesn't help me, doesn't do me any favors. Obviously, this is episode number 24, and I kind of wanted to keep, the guests in line. And I obviously asked them to be part of the show, and, I kind of want to, stick with that. There was a little bit of a mess with the Atalanta, weekend that I kind of took off. So I kind of want to keep it straightforward. Everything's in place. But, yeah, guys, thank you for all the support. It's been huge. Obviously, we still need to keep growing. I'd like to hit the 50 hopefully subs on YouTube if possible. That would be awesome. And then, maybe 100 later. But yeah, and then again, where you can find me, obviously smash the subscribe, drop a like on YouTube if that's your place of content. Obviously click the bell for notification. That's going to update you when the new podcast drops. Then again, for iTunes and Spotify, same thing. If you follow, it's going to show up in your thread. So, yeah, if you use those apps. And actually, some news. I just realized that, Podbean has kind of done a little bit of a reorganization of their page for us podcast creators. And now you can also find the Juventinita Back to Black and White podcast on Google Podcast. So, and I'm definitely going to be adding it to a couple more. I believe they have TuneIn and some other Stitcher. And a bunch of others. So if you guys use any of those, again, you'll have access very shortly. I'm going to say at least by next week. It's pretty simple. So guys, stay tuned for that. Obviously, without further ado, someone that we've been trying to link up for
quite a while, a few days.
Unfortunately, there's been a hurricane going on in the Caribbean. And
we good now.
Yeah, so it's everything's subsided, everything's good, power's back, everybody's safe. Sure. Hopefully all the Juventini down there are safe, and obviously all the people around there are safe.
I think there's like one.
There you go.
Yeah, so.
And actually even in Hawaii now, I think they're going through something too. So any Juventini in Hawaii, stay safe and just get through it, and we'll be on to celebrating. Obviously, like I said, if anyone's under a rock, obviously today we've won the Scudetto, so let's just give ourselves, a round of applause.
A pat on the back. It was a tough one. This season was such a roller coaster worth of emotions, and to finally have it clinched, obviously you could have had it earlier, but let's not focus on the negative aspects of that specifically. We're champions for the 9th year in a row. Big win for us, big for Sarri. Hopefully it helps him. Should he continue with Juventus? And yeah, see how it goes.
Well, like I said, welcome Kash from Curacao, which is a little bit unexpected. I do know where it is, but yeah, no, definitely. Obviously, we're bringing in guests from all over the world, and yeah, it's great to have you on the show, bud.
Yeah, bro. Thanks so much for having me. Like I said, I'm glad we were able to work this out. And no, I appreciate you having me. I'm looking forward to a good conversation and hopefully, being back in the future.
Yeah, no, definitely. And, I kind of wanted to keep this too because the last time you were on, obviously, all Juve cast, Al's podcast, you were obviously doing the Coppa Italia game with Udinese.
I was.
It kind of perfectly worked out, and then
It-
unfortunately we weren't able to do it,
I
a
know.
couple days ago. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
Just kind of for anyone who obviously hasn't, I would be surprised if you're not listening to Al's podcast, but because he's done such a great job. But if you haven't in particularly watched that and you don't know Kash, and obviously he would have told a story on that podcast, but kind of give us even just generally like what generation you kind of grew up in,
Yeah.
essentially how you became a Juve fan. But
Yeah,
we don't
for
need to get
sure.
into too much detail because obviously that content's out there already, correct?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. And I still have my notes from Al's
There
game, so I
you
can
go.
just I can
There you
just
go.
literally read on that. There we go. I want to say, so I was born in 1993.
Me too.
Oh, there you go. I turned 27 a few days ago, so I'm old as hell. It sucks. After 25, it's just like shit. Anyway, so it was in 1996. I was with my cousin, who was a big Juventus fan. At that point, he was a very big Juve fan. And I was just 3 years old at that point, not even three, and I was able to witness Juventus winning the Champions League, which is something I could say I've witnessed in my lifetime at least, even though I don't remember it.
Yeah.
I didn't understand much of it. I didn't understand the significance, obviously, because I was not even 3 years old at that point. But it was still a great story to kind of start with. I always was a sporty kid. I used to play sports a bunch. Never really supported a team. It was in 2002 with that same cousin. I was watching the World Cup, and I was watching Italy play, and it was I don't remember who it was against right now, but I think it was Mexico. And the 84th minute, Del Piero scored to get us through to the next round, to the round of 16. And after seeing that, I think I just fell in love with Ale, as a lot of us of that time kind of
Right.
see him as the flagship of Juventus. So fell in love with him, started to watch a bit more of Juventus whenever I could over here. It was a bit difficult back then because we didn't necessarily get the feeds and stuff like that. So I would be watching on like a weird setup with a connection from Venezuela and a radio playing. It was just weird. But all for the love of the team, for Juventus, the game. And yeah, I guess that's 2002 was really where it started to grow for me. So I've been a supporter for 18 years now. I love it. It's Juventus. What's there not to love about them? Except if you're a Merda fan. I mean, where everyone loves Juventus apparently.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that's my story.
Especially today of all days.
All the
But yeah, that's such a weird game too because I don't want to bring up too many of the demons of the 2002 World Cup, but yeah, no, definitely that was a very important game. Obviously, Mexico, I believe, had the lead, and Italy had to draw at least just to get to the next round, and then the rest is history. I don't want to get.
Then let's not talk about the rest. I don't want to talk about the rest.
There's a certain Moreno that I don't really that I have as his photo as a dartboard at home.
Yeah, it's sad
because
I still get there's certain things I get PTSD of. 2002 World Cup being one of them, Cardiff being another. There's quite a few memories that.
Oh yeah, we have our fair share of nightmares.
Yeah,
that's for sure. But anyways, guys, let's get into the news. Obviously, before this game, or kind of at the time of, apparently we're in the links with Palmieri from Chelsea. Obviously, he's valued at 20 million. I think that's a great, buy if that is the actual number. Obviously, just reports. Apparently, Merida's also in the race, but I think if it's only 20 million, I think you definitely capitalize on that. Obviously, we're hoping to complete the signing of a young talent, Samuel Illing Jr. from Chelsea as well. And yeah, apparently there's just the details. I don't know. I don't get these deals with these young guys. Like, it's literally like we buy them and ship them off. We
Hey,
buy them
plus Valenza, huh?
exactly.
Buy them cheap, ship them off. No, for Emerson, in regards to him, we saw it in the Udinese game. We saw it today as well when Danilo was taken off. I'll focus more on the game of Thursday. We we just need fullbacks. We need competent fullbacks. Sandro and Danilo are only natural fullbacks right now. I'm not even counting Mattia because he's always injured.
Yeah.
So it's difficult. We need good reliant players to kind of put our trust in. And from what I remember, Emerson did fairly well with Sarri at
Yeah.
Chelsea. He is a fast player. We need the speed. We need someone that's defensively minded, but also can push up. And I think he has those traits. Um, the fullback market is a bit difficult right now because there are not a lot of big fullback names out there. Like a lot of people think like, oh, look for the big names, look for the big names. And Emerson's not necessarily one of those big names. He's not the Kimmich, he's not the Alba, the Carvajal, he's not those guys.
Right.
But I think it'll be a good move for us. As for Illings Jr., honestly, never even heard of the kid. So cool. If it gets us money, it makes us money. It makes us money.
Well, yeah. If that's what we're gonna start doing, then fucking start signing everybody and anybody. I guess.
At it, right? Go at it.
Obviously, as well, Locatelli. Obviously, the big game that Sassuolo had against us in the 3-3 draw. But they obviously really like him. Obviously, he's now transitioned into that central defensive midfielder role, that holding role. But like I said with Jake on that podcast, I think you got to let the guy play a couple more or even at least one more season to see how if he can still hold on to this kind of if you want to call it luck or the streak that he's on of consistent football. And I think then, you monitor it at that point and you see if you want to make the move. If you still have to spend a little bit more money and he's the right guy, who cares, right? At the end of the day, that's what I say. If you got to wait and see, like there's a lot to risk now with the obviously COVID, and that's going to seep into the next probably 2-3 years of transfers and financials. So
definitely makes sense there. I think Giuseppe said it today when I was on his podcast. He said you can't evaluate a player by just 1 year of performances. A player can have a fantastic performance 1 year, and then the next year just completely flop. I mean, I don't like to necessarily bring it up because I love him, but Morata was one of them. He had an amazing season with us. In my mind, I was like, die, like next striker, but then Madrid took him obviously, but his second season was complete a disaster if you compare them to one another. So that's an example. We've done it before where we sign players on instinct. If you got to spend a bit more, you got to spend a bit more. But again, Locatelli is young. It's a transfer for the future. And he would be someone that would play, in the midfield rather than being someone you just sell off, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. And we need that depth. I think it's clearly evident. It doesn't matter what games you're watching. We definitely need depth in the midfield, and we need depth in the fullbacks. You can't grind, like you said, Sandro into the ground. I think we've played him way too many games. He obviously was coming off an MCL tear or a lesion, as they call. I love how their injuries are like way more technical than how they classify them in North American sports, to be quite honest. But so he basically had an MCL tear, and obviously then now again he's been playing every game. Yeah. So I have worry about that because obviously the next season is going to be coming right away. Mm-hmm. Maybe not as many games per week, but the next season is going to follow concurrently. So really, we have no room to, have a guy who then, okay, what happens if he blows his ACL? Then there's your left back gone. So you don't want to do that. And then again, with forcing Chiellini to come back in, and I think that was just risky business for me personally. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Sami Khedira could lose his place in UACL. I had to bring this one up. Some people were like, could. I'm like, yeah, there's no way this guy should be keeping a spot. I think we should just ship his ass off as soon as possible. Whoever
Yeah.
wants, if someone in Qatar wants him, take him. If not, just burn that contract up because
Mhm.
it's not even worth seeing his name listed as a player anymore. I'm so over
Yeah,
it.
no, he's done for, in my opinion. I mean, he gave us some good moments. But I think I've been Kedira outgang for the past 2 years now. I
Yeah,
think he's past his prime. He came in at a good time to help us, in the midfield with, especially that year, Pogba was the only guy there really from the year before. We picked up Pjanic and Kedira, so it was a good thing for us in some way.
yeah. And he was a lot
So
younger, right? He's a lot
yeah,
younger at that time, and
exactly,
same
exactly.
with Pjanic was a lot younger, had
Hmm.
legs. So I think
Yeah.
it's just time to move on, and
Hmm.
hopefully, Pjanic obviously is on his way already, and then hopefully we can get rid of Kadira either by a signing or I would just say you're going to be paying the 6 million anyways for have him on the bench. You might as well just cut your
You might as
losses and
well
get
just
rid of
cut
him.
your losses. Exactly. No, it
Get
makes
it.
sense.
So obviously there was also a kind of a young prospect deal between Pescara and Juve. We got Diego Ripani,
I saw
Ricardo,
that. Yeah.
yeah, Ricardo Rossi, and Da Baca from
Mhm.
Pescara. Obviously, we sent Grigoris Castanos and obviously Luca Comenza. Again, guys that
Just
never seemed like they were ever going to
yeah,
come up. Anyways,
exactly.
obviously, I know of these two guys, but I mean, they're not getting the club
Yeah.
has no faith in them. So I
Mhm.
mean, really not surprised there. Obviously, an important kind of fact of, before that game, Juve's midfield only had scored 9 goals this season, and even the defense had scored 15. So that's
Oh
a
wow.
huge point of
Yeah.
contention. I mean, you need that production out of your midfield, even
Hmm.
if, it's one thing to just, have that stat, but the way the midfield's played so far, we really
Yeah.
it's a
No.
big telling tale of why we've kind of struggled this season as much as
Hmm.
because we really haven't been able to take control of games in our mid
Yeah.
in terms of the midfield. And yeah, no, I think it's been really tough. Like I said, that's a big when Delict is putting in more goals than Bernardeschi. I mean,
Berna.
that's just, and even if you look at guys like Pjanic and Rabiot, really it wasn't anything to sniff about before recent as of recently. Obviously, he's done really well, but before that, nothing. Same with Ramsey. Has been injured, and
Mhm.
really that's kind of the tail of the tape there. Matuidi is not kind of the guy that's going to be banging in goals, so
Yeah.
definitely things need to change. And I think all the teams that are successful in terms of Europe and stuff like that have a midfield that is scoring, that is contributing at least. Maybe not to the same extent as the forwards, but they're still contributing their due per
I
se.
think I think the other point to add is that Sari needs a solid midfield for
Right.
his method or for his way of playing. You don't give him that midfield, he's going to struggle. And
Yeah.
I'm not blaming all the struggles on our midfield only. There have been multiple situations, but
Oh yeah.
since we're talking about the midfield specifically, for Sari ball to actually work, you need a workhorse player, which we don't have right now. Matuidi runs around like a headless chicken sometimes.
He just
You
has no
need
touch. Yeah.
if Sari had a guy like Vidal,
Yeah.
I think that would have been perfect because that's what he had in Napoli with in Alan,
Yeah.
right? And then he had the creative player in Jorginho,
Yeah.
which is what Pjanic should have been,
Yeah.
but has not been.
Yeah.
So he needs a certain components, and I know people say, but he should work with what he has, blah 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 blah. P- Pep Guardiola has gone to Man City, he's busted like 1 billion. How much has he
Yeah.
spent?
Oh, at
One
least.
billion just to get his squad together.
At
He's
least.
done it at Barcelona, he's done it at Bayern Munich. There's other guys like Mourinho that's done. I mean, Mourinho's also like depends on the case. But again, you need to give a coach the tools to work
Yeah.
with. And I think that that message, that integrating that type of play has been difficult.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think if your goal is the Champions League, then yeah, that's definitely what you need to do. I mean,
exactly.
if your goal is just to win Scudetti every year, then that's fine.
Mhm.
I mean, you can do that every year, no problem. But if the club wants to make Champions League an actual attainable goal,
Yeah.
you can't be pissing around years because you're too cheap or you made too many stupid moves to get there. That's the
Yeah.
biggest problem to me as of late. It's too much pissing around. There's guys that we need. There's
Hmm.
players that we could have used like Pellegrini as like backups and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's just a merry-go-round in terms of who comes in, who goes out, because we got to balance books come June. So
Mhm.
to me, you're short. You're very short-sighted when you have to do all these things and then say, oh well. And like I said, to me, the Agnelli was banking on Ronaldo tenfold.
Yeah.
And really, he thought they could will them somehow to win the Champions League, and that's not how you win Champions League,
Yeah.
which has been clear for the past 5-10 years.
Mhm.
Um, there's no real player who's really willing teams. If you want to say with Ronaldo, everyone likes to forget the team, and that's my biggest contention to that argument is, yeah, he was playing amazing, but he also had an all-star team behind him. You look at
Yeah.
Liverpool; they're all in sync. It was
Mhm.
magic, kind of. Everything was working together all at once, and then obviously they had an easier year where Real goes out, Barca goes out, Juve goes out, etc. Right? So,
Yeah.
or Barca has kind of a shitty year, and Liverpool kind of takes advantage of that.
Mhm.
Obviously, talking about Sarri, there was a quote kind of before that. Obviously, the Udinese game where they talked about criticism. The reporter was bringing up criticism of him, right? And
Mhm.
Sarri goes, criticism. I'm probably an asshole to some. I don't know. I care relatively. In the end, the thoughts of journalists are opinions, and so I am relatively interested in reading other people's opinions on a subject in which I think I know more. So kind of, obviously fiery because
Yeah.
it's coming off of the game. Even the Lazio game we won, but it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was particularly a great game. If we didn't have Dybala, which was discussed multiple times now, if we didn't have Dybala, it would have been a completely different game.
Yeah.
And I think it still wasn't a great game. There was and obviously you got to remember Lazio was missing a lot of players that game, and
Yeah.
it wasn't easy. We didn't make it look
Yeah.
easy, that's for sure.
I mean, it's like that even against Udinese, they had missing players, they had missing starters, and we still managed to bottle it. So, I mean, there's a lot of work to be done. I'm glad we won.
Yeah,
We can put that. It's like a burden off the shoulders.
yeah,
We have these next two games to focus on just form and recovery for Dybala and the Lift. The
yeah,
Lift has been nursing that shoulder injury for a while. Dybala today after um, the Samp game, some issues with his thigh. Hopefully nothing crazy.
yeah,
Demiral will get some minutes come the next few games, so he can be prepped for Champions League because I don't think Khedira is going to be on the Champions League list.
yeah.
So the positive changes coming hopefully, and we can hopefully have a good positive run against Lyon because I mean it's the Champions League, man. I mean,
Anything can happen.
Ronaldo's years are coming to an end.
Well, that too, but anything can happen both ways.
Yeah, of course.
Not just in our favor.
Mhm.
Leon's going to be getting obviously Depay back, and he's been, I mean, from his form before, obviously all this happened was incredible. But I think there's lots of, like you said, there's lots of guys that need to get minutes now, and I think that's not a big deal. Even if you throw Rugani in there, I really could care less.
Yeah.
Um, throw in anybody who needs, tune up. Like you
Yeah.
said, Chiellini, if in a game or two, if he's good, throw him in, because he's gonna have to get back to fitness, and we hope like everybody's on that kind of same page, and is match fit by the time August 7th comes along. So obviously we'll go into the formation. It wasn't really anything different from the Lazio game. Obviously Rugani had to start because Bonucci was on yellow card accumulation for
Yep.
that stupid foul that he committed right before the half. But yeah, so obviously Alexandro back in his normal spot at left back. Danilo played in at right back, and you still had Bernardeschi, Dybala, and Ronaldo up top with Ramsey, Bentancur, and Rabiot, kind of a continuation on from that Lazio game. Then, like you said, Udinese, you know, nothing really special. Obviously, they have the ball in the middle of the park, but for goal, Musso, Becao, Ekong, and Noitink in defense. Your three, yeah, I couldn't. I was like, what's
You're
this? Where's
good.
this guy from? Anyways, then we had on the right side Ter, Avert, and Fofana with DePaul in the middle. Like I said, Sema and Ziegler on the left hand side. Obviously, Stefano Okaka was up top with Nesterovsky. And really nothing of a lineup that really scares you. That should really worry a team like us, even at this point.
Yeah.
You look at the stats too. I mean, we kind of dominated this game, even how horribly it seemed that we had played, and the guys looked really tired. That was kind of one of the notable things me and Al kind of discussed after, through a couple threads on Twitter, but really just did not seem like they wanted it. And I thought we were going to come into this game and just boss and just smash in 3 and call it a day. But to be honest, it was really uninspiring.
It wasn't really what I expected. I was ready to celebrate the win.
Yep.
I was ready to celebrate the Scudetto at that point, but I figured, the players would want to go, they'll go out hungry. They'll get the win, like you said. Scudetto clinched. The next 3 games will be focus on what's to come in the next few weeks. But to go back to the lineup specifically, Juve's, when I look at it, the first 2 things I always look at is midfield and defense. The attack, I have confidence. I have confidence in the attack for the most part, but I look directly at the midfield first, and then I look at the defense to just understand what's going on, because that's where we're lacking firepower, in my opinion. Seeing Rugani start, obviously, to me, was just worrisome. Rugani scares me as a defender, and not in the good way. It's in a way where there's just no trust. He is someone that Sarri trusted so much in his earlier years when they were playing together.
At Empoli.
Empoli, there we go. When they were together, and then now it's just. Someone mentioned it today that they picked Sarri would sub on an injured Chiellini or pick an injured Chiellini over Rugani playing, a fit and healthy Rugani. So that says a lot about the situation. And then the midfield, seeing Bentancur start there as a regista, it was good to see it. Rabiot and Ramsey, by his side, Rabiot, I was happy he got to continue because he's been in great form as of late. So it was good seeing that. To me, no Pjanic. I was a bit worried, though, because even though I'm seeing the transition happen and there's less and less reliance on Miralem, creativity from Bentancur is not necessarily at the all-time high right now. He's still learning and still building into the role and everything. And not that Pjanic does much, passing the ball left and right. I think he just has a bit more awareness with experience and everything. So it was a bit worrisome, just a little bit, but I didn't have an issue with that. What I found interesting was in the lineup I saw, they had Ronaldo on the left, Dybala in the middle. But then they kept switching the whole time. They kept swapping up the whole time. And, Berna on the right, who's had some decent performances, on the right side. I mean, nothing spectacular, but the good thing about Berna is he is a workhorse. He does run around. He does, try to defend and everything like that. So we'll give him that. Matthijs de Ligt starting was great. What I found interesting was that he was starting on the right side of defense and not the left side. Usually he's been playing on the left, but obviously with the absence of Bonucci, he's played on the right. And then... obviously Tech in goal, he's a given. Even if Buffon was in goal, I would feel perfectly fine. I trust the both of them with the in between the sticks. So overall lineup, I think Rugani was my biggest worry in the game.
Right. And yeah, I think it's pretty, that's pretty straightforward. I just think the guy lacks confidence at all. I think it's just, now it's pretty much time to cut the cord. It's not going to get any better, I don't think.
Yeah. I
Even
mean,
if
he had time with Allegri, he had time with Sarri. None of it didn't work with any of them.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if he had time with Allegri. I don't know if he had the time with Allegri. I think that was kind of the downfall of him being under Allegri. I think Allegri didn't have any trust in anyone. He had his guys and he would play them wherever, but I don't think, when you even look at like guys like Marquisio who could barely even get like a string of games together,
Yeah.
even when they were fit, it's like guys are not going to be ready to go if you're playing them once every 3 months.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. Very good
and
point.
even less than that, and I think Rugani was even less than that. So it's like at the end of the day, I'm not going to rag on the guy any more than needs to be.
Yeah.
But I think it is what it is. If you can get whatever for him, then put him in a place where he's going to get the trust and the maybe that confidence back, and just move on.
I think the only place that I see him going is because of his salary would be the Premier League. I think that's probably the only place that would be able to afford his salary and everything like that, because we put him on such a high salary. I think the Premier League is probably his best bet. So, but I mean, yeah, that that was the feels of the lineup when I first saw it.
Yeah, so let's. I mean, you look at the match stats next, and you're kind of like, really, this game was that kind of a struggle? But yeah, no, I mean, we kind of dominated it. 61% possession to 39. Obviously, we had 21 shots on goal, 5 that were actually on target. Excuse me. To Udinese's 11 with 4 on goal. Corners again, we had 7 corners to their 3. Cross 14 balls in, third to their 13. 9 fouls to 8, nothing really there. 2 yellows each. Obviously, Ramsey. I thought Ramsey had not really a great game.
I didn't even see him, honestly. I didn't even know he was playing for a while.
That's a big question, right?
Yeah,
that's a big question, because people are talking about now. Is it really rust, or is this guy just not good enough, right?
I think it's a lack of identity. He's not been able to identify that. He's been played as Mezzala. He's been played as a trequartista. So I think he still needs to find his identity in the team. I was very excited for Ramsey. I was looking forward to him because I genuinely do like him as a player. I think he's a great player. I think he just needs to find his form and his identity in the team. Hopefully he's able to do that in the next 2 games. Obviously not get injured as well, because that's a big strike. I think he was doing well when he first started. I think he had like 2 or 3 goals, and he was playing decent, linking up well with the strikers. So I was happy to see that. And then the injury happened, and then COVID happened. And, it puts a big gap, or it puts a big stop into someone's form. Exactly. I'm hoping, Ramsey is able to pick up, but he was non-existent in the game against Udinese. I think he was the first sub, right? Yeah, Matuidi came on bang on the 60th.
Well, and that's another thing we'll get into, because that's just unreal. Obviously, pass accuracy. I mean, we're upwards of 90%, so there's really nothing. I think that's fine. I mean, offsides were obviously down, so Bernardeschi learned his lesson, I guess, or was just really, in my opinion, inexistent in this game. So we'll get into obviously the minute-by-minute recap. Obviously, to start the game off, you hear the commentators say Udinese's last league win at home was 10 years ago.
10 years ago, yeah.
A decade, guys. A decade. Unbelievable stat.
And they managed to do it against us.
Exactly. Let's be real. I mean, obviously we get into the game and Ramsey's fouling honestly, first of all, I don't know why make the tackle? It was a stupid tackle. But the ref to throw a yellow that early, I'm like, damn.
Yeah, that was also rather interesting. Who was officiating? It was Irati, right?
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, it was him. And you know, a yellow card in the first minute to me is it has to be really bad for it to happen. So you know, that kind of sucks, but
Yeah.
and it puts that pressure onto a player. You know, I mean, especially when it's that early in the game, you're like, crap, I need to be cautious now for a full 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, if it comes in the 70th minute, you're like, all right, tactical foul, or okay, it's just money or whatever it may be. So it's less of a burden, but he definitely had that on the back of his mind.
Yeah, and then I mean, right after that, easily gets dispossessed, holding up possession, but definitely had some good early link-up play from what I was seeing. It was kind of not really indicative of what was to come, but you know, because you have obviously in the 4th minute, Alexander with a beautiful cross into the box. Really, players were, I believe, indecisive, and you know, Bernardeschi kind of lays off the ball, and nothing happens. Then you go into the 7th minute. Danilo horror show, I wrote.
Yeah, this was
Completely misses the ball. Udinese push wide. So then obviously Delict has to kind of cover on that, or he kind of comes out to kind of play the winger or the guy on the wing, and you know, Danilo somehow comes back into the box, heads the ball off the post to start things off.
I just oh man, Danilo. Yeah, that was not pretty. I have it right here. 7.5 minutes in.
Yeah.
Nearly an own goal by Danilo. Good play from Udinese. Yeah, no, it wasn't an ideal situation to be in. Obviously, it wasn't fun to watch that, and it doesn't help confidence. It really doesn't help confidence to have that happen so early. But you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, and like you said, I think there's a lot of these players that are only for the bench.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I call them, only for the bench.
Oh yeah, only bench players. I mean, that's kind of what any team should have. You know, good bench players. It shouldn't be like some mediocre / you know, whatever. Maybe.
But even like I said, Danilo for the bench isn't a horrible thing. But I mean, when you see him starting games, that's when I question. Okay, we're really in a not a great place.
I mean, who else would you start? I mean, there's you know, there's no one you can really start. We shipped off Pellegrini. De Sciglio is injured. Cancelo was a direct like a swap with Danilo, so it would have not mattered. You know, Cuadrado. It's a position we lack in. Hopefully, we're able to pick that up. And then, I mean, he's had good games, Danilo. Like, he scored his first Juve goal with his first touch of the ball. And let's not forget, this guy's played, quote unquote, for Porto. He's played for Real Madrid. He's played for Man City. So it's not like random small teams are picking him up. He's come from some big teams, you know. So there definitely was some sort of quality that they saw in him. Maybe it was that, hey, he's a bench player. We need someone from the bench. Let's get Danilo. So, you know, I think that's kind of the idea with him. I mean, I wouldn't mind him as a bench player. I think it's a good option, but starting-wise, it's not the move, in my opinion.
Right. And obviously, you know, 13-minute, you know, Dybala, you know, he takes a little bit too long, but it kind of does like a ricochet, and then the defender kind of puts it just wide, almost an own goal. It's kind of a crazy sequence, and that almost kind of kickstarted things. Obviously, you have a, you know, in the 14th, there's a corner. Ramsey tries this weird-ass volley that kind of gets bounced back, and then Dybala actually has a great chance with his volley.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And, you know, there we go. We just keep pushing. But and then directly after that, obviously a great ball over the top to Ronaldo, but he doesn't get that handle on it. And, you know, it just seemed like we were getting chances, but it wasn't like at a frenetic pace or anything like that. It was kind of like slow build up, and then we would get a chance, and build up and get a chance. So nothing really, you know. Udinese wasn't showing anything, I would say, too great either, but it seemed like at a certain point in this game, they switched on and wanted it way more than we did. Obviously, 16th minute, Danilo link up. And like I write down, Dybala's just on. It just seems like he turns on the switch like every game.
Yeah.
And it's just going. I mean, sometimes we don't look great, but he has really great moments that I would say that no one else really in this team has. And then again, I said Ramsey's touches. It's really missing.
What I like about Dybala is just that, whenever he's playing, he switches the pace of the game.
Right.
We've seen it when he's come off the bench. We've seen it, from the start of the game, how he's able to control it. I think he's an amazing player. He is probably amongst my favorite Juventus players now. Definitely someone that I would love to secure for long term. I literally, when I wrote down the lineup, I wrote Dybala Capitano because I was happy to see that. I love it.
Exactly.
So
yeah, let's not forget to mention that. Obviously, well, unfortunately, being a loss, but he was the captain, obviously, on the field, which was really nice to see. And great point. But yeah, again, 22nd minute, Ramsey gives the ball away again. I think Alexander, what I really like is he makes up for it. Obviously, again, you look at the goals that everyone's going to be talking about, but the guy was going up the field.
Yeah.
And I put it on Twitter. I mean, there was enough guys, obviously, when we'll get into the goals in a little bit, but there was enough guys there to make the difference.
Yeah.
And Udinese in about the 22nd minute, that's when they wake up. We're sitting back. They were sitting back for most of the first, but now they're starting to take their chances. But 26th minute, nice kind of play. Dybala, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Dybala has the ball, gives it to Ronaldo, but then even Rabiot comes in and plays like a decoy. You gotta like seeing that because that's gonna move defenders around. That's gonna give you space, and it almost worked. He was just wide on the shot, but something that really was nice to see. Then obviously again, something I've been harping on, even we got to use Bonucci for, but in the 33rd minute, De Ligt with a nice ball over the top to Dybala.
Yeah.
Just offside, was a little bit offside. That's got to be worked on. Timing. You look at Pjanic with the ball to Ronaldo against Milan, but I think that we need to start opening defenses more often with that. I think it's something that we can definitely use. We got the players who can make the pass. Bonucci obviously with his, his defensive abilities aren't as great as other players, but
yeah,
or he needs
he needs a good partner with him. That's why he does well with De Ligt and Chiellini, and that's why he didn't do well at Milan because at Milan he didn't have that partner. When you play Rugani with him, he doesn't have that rock with him. So yeah, the amount of assists that Bonucci's had, or the amount of balls that he's played, that's just turns out to be beautiful. It's a good number. So
exactly. And obviously we get further on. Obviously, 35th. This is what killed me actually in this game, and I really wanted to talk about this. I wish we had done this earlier, but this play just shows what's wrong with Calcio. You see DePaul come in the box, right? Frickin' dives like he's in a swimming pool. But then what's for the hilarious part? Then it seems like every player on the damn pitch, one throws their arms up, and then two proceeds to run at the ref. But then they all realize, wait, the ball is still live, and Udinese gets their chance. It's like it seems like it's almost that's the natural thing to do now, and I think it's just ridiculous. It's like play on. Let the ref make his decision, and that's it. If it's a dead ball, then okay, whatever. Go plead your case or whatever you want to do. But literally during a play, about 10 players literally were just stopped in their tracks.
Yeah, I think what I also find inconsistent is giving yellows and everything like that. If it's a dive, it should just be a yellow. I think it should just be a straight yellow. To prevent it from happening or to try, prevent people from doing it. There was no yellow on it. It was a dive, clear dive. You could see it. Even if you went to VAR, you could see it.
Yeah.
So they were kind of skeptical about it. You're giving Ramsey a yellow card in the first minute, but you're not going to punish a player simulating.
Yeah.
Whether it's Juventus or Udinese or any other
Yeah.
team for that matter of fact.
Yeah, and then obviously, I believe it was during that play, Rabiot had he was tracking back pretty well, won the ball, but then there was no really any support there for someone to come pick up the ball and obviously move it the other direction. But then again, 39th minute, really, I didn't see anything of Bernardeschi.
Mhm.
Um, Pace really subdued, really slow now, and this is only 40 minutes into a game.
Yeah.
But then out of nothing, 42nd minute comes around, and Delict with a just fucking cracker, fucking
With our
bomba.
warrior was a great goal. Came out of nowhere. I wasn't even expecting him to shoot.
Yeah,
Um, I don't think anyone was really expecting him to shoot. I think that's what kind of also threw everyone off. But hey, it was a good shot, and it paid off. And what I always I always say this to people when I also play. I always say this to like my teammates and stuff because when I play center mid or I play like a trequartista role, usually center mid. And what I love distributing the ball and everything like that. But what I also love doing is taking shots out of nowhere, and I feel like we should have done that more.
yeah,
I feel like we should do it more in general. Test the goalkeeper. If you don't have anything going for you, test the goalkeeper. We saw it today with Quagliarella. All of a sudden, out of nowhere in the first half, he ripped. Like all of a sudden today.
yeah,
And I think we're lacking that. We're lacking Pjanic taking, well, he's leaving now, but we're lacking, Pjanic taking those shots from outside the box. Look how it pays off. Rabiot made that amazing run, took the shot. Ronaldo out of nowhere, banger of a goal against Genoa, I think it was, in that
yeah,
3-0 win. So, we should be testing the goalkeeper. And I think we're obsessed with the mindset, and maybe this is the tactics behind it, of pass, try to pass at least, to find a little way in the box, and then put it in.
Goal.
Like whether it's a tap in or a header or whatever it may be. Test the goalkeeper because you never know what may happen. We've seen it before. I'm not gonna I'm not going to say all goalkeepers are like this because it's not true. But look at Karius when he played the Champions League final. He was tested out of nowhere and he screwed up on both the times.
yeah.
So it should be a
'Cause
mentality.
sometimes they're not paying attention, and you don't know when you're going to catch them off guard. No, I think that's a point we've been hyping on like quite a bit. Even I believe just as soon as the last podcast or the one before, definitely, yeah. I mean. That's something that needs to be done and I think the stats showed that we did have quite a few shots, 16 outside the box in this game. But I think, exactly. It's a tactic where, I mean, you don't want to just be, rifling them in. There's times where
you don't.
But at the end of the day, it's definitely something that, you need to keep the goalie sharp. You need to keep him on his toes, because again, one slip, like you said with Karius in the final, and you're not paying attention or whatever, and boom, you're down. You give away 2 goals right there. So, that's huge in any game. Obviously, 45 plus minute, just chilling. I mean, there was no real. That was kind of the end of the half, and obviously Ronaldo had another first touch mistake where he didn't. And this is kind of the point that I was harping on for a lot is. A lot of he's a guy, he's a striker or a winger, whatever you want to call him, of volume. You really need to get him a lot of balls, and that's what I've noticed, like a lot, because it's not the same. His rate isn't the same as what it used to be. I mean, he's missing a lot of first touches. He's missing a lot of easy taps that he should be putting in, and so I think that's something that if they're going to keep him, that's just something now you're going to deal with. You're going to have to try and find to get him the ball as much as possible.
No,
or else
I think
it's not going to work.
Yeah, no, I see your point. I think to add to that, I think he needs a good support striker. That's why, he did so well at Madrid, because I'm not saying he did it only because of Benzema, but, Benzema was there, and he's a great support striker in the sense that he can provide those balls, he can hold up the play and everything like that.
Right.
So that's something that in my opinion, we're missing. Higuain is great at it, and he does it well. But Higuain also is well past his prime, in my opinion.
Right.
We can't expect Ronaldo to be the Real Madrid Ronaldo. So if I say you got to give him the balls, you give him the balls. He's whacked in 31 goals this season. This is the first time, and not the first time. This is only the second time in Serie A history that two players have scored more than 30 goals. Immobile and Ronaldo. Just supply him the balls. If he's scoring, he's scoring. Give him 1,000 of them. All it takes is one opportunity to finish, and it will be, obviously I'd love to win games 6-0, 7-0. But at the rate we're going, it's like even a 1-0, or 2-0, 2-1 would make me happy, like having that win. So yeah, I mean, overall first half feeling it was all right. I mean, I saw some sloppiness here and there, but we always tend to, get into gear around the 15th minute or so, which is what happened. I always get nervous at halftime going into second half to see what happens, because I feel like a lot of times we just shut off come the second half. I mean, we saw it in the game against
Milan.
Was it Milan where we were up 2-0, right? Yeah, we were up 2-0, and then all of a sudden, second half, we just shut off, and they completely barraged us. Like, it was crazy.
And Sassuolo too.
I think it was the Sassuolo game I was talking about. Yeah. I mean, it's just, it's upsetting to see that happen. So there's obviously nervousness at that point, and just what you would imagine, the 51st minute, they score, and it was a beautiful goal. It was a beautiful goal. It was spot on. Very sloppy start to the second half. I think there was a clip they cut to Ronaldo, and Ronaldo's face was just pure confusion and agony. At that point, and it gets upsetting. It's you bust your ass, you play well, this, that, blah, blah, and then you have a team behind you that's not necessarily doing what they should be doing. I mean, sloppiness is one thing, and sloppiness should not be something that is acceptable.
Yeah, and like you said, 47th, I would say even before that, Udinese is opening us up. And in the 49th, they're still causing problems. And in the 51st, like I said, this excuse me, when we have this whole new attack, right, that we want to have this offensive play, and you're going to leak goals, and that's just the way it is. And if people don't like it, well, that's the truth. And that's what's going to happen.
I'm perfectly fine with letting in like 2 goals if we're scoring 4.
So you look at how, and I mean, I want everyone to go and look at this again, because it was a real point in contention. In at least everyone was saying, oh, well, look at Sandro. He was nowhere near there, and that's fine. Okay, whatever. I've defended Sandro. I like Sandro. Let's get the asterisk before we get into the conversation. But when you look at that play, I mean, De Ligt makes the communication for Rugani to go and take on that one defender, but no one looks to see the 2 guys running in. We had there was about 3 players in that area that could have man-marked all 3 of those guys in there, and you have the one, I believe it was Danilo on their winger who puts the ball in, and it's like, that's just simple defense. Like, you can easily take care of that. Obviously, De Ligt should have taken the guy on. He should have sent, obviously, or either tell Rugani to get the guy in front, and then De Ligt take care of the 2 guys bombing in with whoever that midfielder was. I can't remember if it was Rabiot or whoever, or Ramsey or whoever it was. But, that's a mistake on the team. That's team defense that needs to be worked on. Mm-hmm. You got to have your head on a swivel and be able to say, okay, there's 2 guys coming in that are potential targets for a ball over the top. There's a guy, and that's really, and there's 3 of us here. We should be able to make the smart decision and be able to nullify that risk. Yeah. So that was as simple as that. You know,
I mean, when it comes down to communication, it could also be that Rugani and De Ligt have not played together.
right.
I mean, not as much as Bonucci has with De Ligt, and if you look at the defense of Bonucci and De Ligt, and you see their communication, you see them sometimes not even having to communicate because they already have that instinct with one another of like, Bonucci, you're going to be marking these guys, I'm going to be marking these guys. We'll cover for each other when this happens, blah, blah, blah. So it's already like an instinctive, reaction for them. I feel like if Bonucci was on rather than Rugani, the likelihood of it and resulting in a goal would have been less, in my personal opinion.
Right.
So, with bad communication, they capitalized on it. They scored a beauty, and it is what it is. And to touch base real quick, I thought personally I would have wanted Costa to come on at first at the half. I would have wanted him to come on for Berna. Bernardeschi just wasn't doing it for me. But I think the commentators brought it up. The pitch quality was so bad, and just it was
a lot of divots.
It was an injury waiting to happen for Costa, and what do we know? He got injured in the 20-30 minutes that he played.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. And it's unfortunate because we see that, but then again, you look at, like I said, again with Alexandro, he bombs up. But again, this is another reason with the press, this whole system that we're in. You got to, once you lose the ball or he goes up and he loses the ball or whatever, the team has to kind of come around and win that ball back quickly. I mean, that's the style.
Yeah.
So again, that doesn't happen, and then you're open for mistakes and counters and this stuff to happen. So that's just how it's gonna be. Obviously, if you're gonna complain the guy doesn't attack enough, and then he goes up there, and then obviously, I mean, you can't have it both ways. It's one or the other. The guy is in the flash. As much as we like to talk about superheroes and nickname different players, the guy's not going to run from one end to the other. It's not happening.
Prime example is Marcelo from Madrid. The guy attacks so much. Half the time he's on the opponent's side of the field, and he's got the defenders covering for him.
Or the
look at Atletico Madrid. They lose the ball in their half. You have strikers that have run back to defend. I'm not saying go gung ho and send Ronaldo back there. No, but it's just a matter of picking up the pace and pushing, to defend.
And it's style too, right? Like I said, Madrid has the midfielders that if a winger gets caught, the guy knows to come back and help out.
Yeah.
I don't think our mid's good enough to do that, to be quite honest. And it's not aware enough to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think they're really listening to, what Sadi is really laying down. And I think that's what you need to have. And, me now got into it again about Alexandro, and it's like, the midfielder's supposed to cover for him when he goes up there. Well, in that instant, exactly.
Yeah.
Matuidi doesn't come back being on, or whoever it was at the time.
Matuidi was.
I believe it was I believe it was Rabiot. Just doesn't come back and help out. I mean, it's just as simple as that, and it makes my head go like, it's like, guys, this is simple. This is not rocket science. Like, you're gonna allow goals like that if the team doesn't start playing around how we need to play.
Exactly.
Obviously, then we kind of awaken a little bit. I wrote down, but then I also write, okay. No, never mind. We're still inviting the pressure, and that's kind of how it went. Obviously, the 59th DC obviously comes on for Bernardeschi, and obviously you mentioned just those 30 minutes that he played. It seemed like now he's done for the season.
He's done for the season,
which is really unfortunate because he's had a pretty decent run of form and games played.
We could have used him. We could have used him in the Champions League. It would have been. It would have been good to have him there.
And then, obviously, Matuidi comes on for Ramsey. Now, this is my biggest point of contention, and I wanted to bring this up, is we talked about it as well, a bunch of us after the game. When you're tied 1-1 in a game, and really all you have on the bench is Matuidi and Pjanic, because obviously Douglas Costa just goes on now, and really that's it. That's, a lot of people are saying, well, look, why, like, we're down and you only make 3 subs, and it's like, well, that's all we have. It's like you're not gonna throw. They're so reluctant to throw under 23 players on, anyways. I don't see them throwing them on in this game, and it's like, it just shows the lack of depth of anything that we have.
Yeah,
and just critical.
and it's also like, you've got. I understood the decision of putting Matuidi on over Pjanic.
Yeah.
Because you have to cover for defense also and understand how Pjanic plays against instead of Matuidi. But at that point, it's again, you're tied 1-1. You need to understand the situation and see, is Matuidi the right player to put on or Pjanic? And I'm taking Ramsey off. Okay, put Bentancur not as a regista, put him to the right where Ramsey was playing. Put Pjanic in the regista role. You can make changes. Was it Ramsey on the right or the left? He was on the right. I think he was on
the right. Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
So I question Sadi's substitutes sometimes because he always at the 60-minute mark. It's always the 60-minute mark where he makes his substitutes. Otherwise, he doesn't, and he hates doing it. Today, the subs that happened, they were forced. It was forced to happen.
Yeah.
So,
like you said, Bernadeschi's not having a great game. Ramsey's not having a great game, and really, that's all he's got. Really, that is all he has got.
Yep.
62nd minute, obviously Alexandro to Dybala, nice shot, but again, doesn't really do much. And then, it seemed like in the 63rd, Udinese is basically countering every mistake we have. And, obviously it's 1-1 at that point, and it's just really, slowing down and not getting any better. 65th minute, Ronaldo with a horrid cross, just garbage. Players have slowed. And it really, at that moment, like about 60, 65 minutes, you can really tangibly see the difference that Udinese has got a clear step up. Obviously in energy, in press, and they wanted it way more than we did. It almost like this game wasn't for a Scudetto, because really it didn't seem like there was anything on the line. It seemed like what's going to probably happen in one of these games coming up, whereas really there was nothing at all to sniff about. Really, to me, it's like, what are we going on about for is this even important, or do you guys want to go home, or what's the what's the situation? And then again, I wrote, even though we have the possession, Udine wants it more. Again, we had the possession, and obviously because we're sitting back now and kind of taking our chances in. And there's always this been talk. There's also, I wrote down because I saw a pretty good note. Obviously, again, guys, I'm watching these games after work because obviously they're either midweek or I'm working overtime or whatever. So there's kind of a discussion about complete freedom in the final third. Now, obviously, it seems like it's been 2 years now that Allegri and obviously now Sarri are just saying, okay, do whatever the hell you want in the second in the final phase of the pitch. What are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think, like, he was obviously Al was talking about more of a defined kind of like situation. To me, I think when you have Ronaldo, there's no real avenue that you can go. I mean, the guy doesn't listen. Like, let's be straightforward. Like, the guy's not gonna, if you tell him to do this, and if you tell him you got to press for freaking 90 minutes, he's gonna tell him to go screw yourself. Like, it's just, that's the way it is. I mean, obviously he's not built to do that, but I mean, if that's the system that you need, you know what I mean? Like, that's the two conflicting, ideas that I think that are, a big problem that we're having is not following what needs to be done. And when you give this kind of complete freedom in the final third, you're going to get some nice plays, but when that gets cut out, you got nothing left to show for it.
Yeah.
And then you start trying to cross you pull the Allegri method where you just start crossing everything in, and no one's in there, and it's like, okay, well, we're great defensively, but 74th, obviously Cuadrado comes in for Danilo. And obviously he was obviously on the right hand side, so he's going to take that role. because you're not going to get DC. You're not going to get Douglas Costa to slide back.
Yeah.
I think that's such a hampering thing. Cuadrado at the right back, I think is just a horrible decision. And I mean, we've had to, but
I mean, to be fair,
we got to pick the guys who I know he's done well for the most part. I mean, he has made a lot of defensive blunders, but I don't fault him that because it's not his role. He's a right winger. He's not a right back.
Yeah.
And my point is this: is like we got to find who we want, right? Like now we're going to get into this phase where Kulusevski can come in the next season if we want, right? Unless they send him back or whatever. He goes on loan or something.
No, I think that would be a big mistake. I think we should hold on to him and play
I
him.
agree. So now you're running into a situation with Cuadrado right wing, Kulusevski right wing, Bernardeschi right wing,
Ship him off.
Costa right wing. So, like I said, there's got to be some kind of a stripping of the team in a sense. I think you got to get rid of Bernardeschi and Douglas Costa.
Yeah, I think those two are the ones that need to go.
Because then you can bring in a proper right back.
Yeah.
And then Cuadrado can just go up there and share the time with Kulusevski. Because
You know,
it looks like 4-3. It looks like 4-3-3 is going to be the name of the game for the next at least season. If Sadi stays. So.
Yeah. No, I love Douglas Costa. But he's just too injury prone. There's been inconsistencies from him. So Bernardeschi and Douglas Costa to me are just send them out.
I agree.
Money for them and invest into a right back. I think a right back is very much needed. A left back, if we bring Pellegrini back, he should be the backup. Obviously, to Sandro. Right back, we already discussed that. Our center defense, I think we're good there with center backs. Rugani can fuck off for all I care. Midfield is a big revamp needed in the midfield, and we need a proper striker. Someone that can do that hold up play and someone that can offer something different. Yeah,
so obviously, like I said, 74th Cuadrado comes on. But, after that, it just became like a chaos theory. Chaos in motion, if you want to call it that.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's trying too much. No one's thinking about what they're doing. No one wants to make the right runs. No one wants to make the right pass.
Yeah, that's
no one wants to pick the right shot.
I really wrote, there's no consistency in play. There's no flow or creativity.
78th, Ronaldo skies it. 80th minute, Cuadrado takes way too long to make the cross and flubs it. Then you have 87th minute, Dybala goes in the box, kind of falls. I didn't think it was a foul or anything like that. That would have been harsh to give that as a penalty. And it's just a whole bunch of that. That whole part.
It just starts spiraling down, basically.
From 75 to 9, and then you have obviously Udinese taking their chances when they when they get the ball, and we're trying so damn hard, and everyone's exhausted. And we get to the 90th minute, we get to the 92nd minute, and Fofana and I think Udinese just outwill 4 players.
Yeah.
Matuidi, I believe, just gets the ball off of him first. Then you have obviously Alexandro coming back. He gets out-muscled by Fofana. And then basically he goes inside out on De Ligt and then fires the shot.
Yeah. I think Tech should have also done better on that too.
Exactly. I think, at the end of the day, the team was gassed. They were trying to go for the win. They knew what was at stake. This was inevitable, I think. We were basically trying to do anything we could. We were doing stupid. We were expending so much energy.
Yeah.
And just the whole team was gassed at that point. And then it just took like a little bit of luck and a little bit of magic. And, they go down the field. And this is kind of one of the questions I asked, though. I mean, obviously, Tech's made a lot of great saves for us, right? To your point.
Mm-hmm.
He's made quite a few great saves. But when have you seen Tech really make, if you look at Buffon's career, right, there's been moments where, even in this run, where he's making 2, 3, and I'm not saying they're comparable, right? Because I don't think they're comparable at all.
No.
I think Buffon is just on another level. I think Tech is a really great keeper, but I don't think he'll ever come close to what Buffon achieved, or even like in terms of skill wise, I don't think he's on the same level or even awareness. And that's something I don't like. I don't like that he's not really. He's vocal, but he's not vocal in with that carries that kind of respect that a Buffon did. Now, obviously, Buffon earned that with having the career he had and winning the World Cup, right?
Yeah.
But so it's a little bit tough to say that. But I mean, I don't like how he commands his line. But really, like you said, Tech saves that, and sure, it's a 1-1. I guess it's not really that much different between 1-1 and 2-1 is really the 1 point, and we still need to win the next game anyways. But I don't see like this guy making 2 or 3 game-changing saves when we really need it. Like I've noticed times where it's like he should have saved that. Like you think of it like this. Milan, yes, it does bounce off Rugani, it does deflect off Rugani, beats him short side. You got to make that save.
Yeah.
Okay. But then he'll go and he'll make like spectacular like free kick saves, like in the last game against Lazio when Savic, hits it at the end there and almost ties the game up. So, I mean, but to me, I think that's kind of what's lacking. Is this ability to just be like, this is gonna save our ass. We've kind of played like shit, and the opportunity to make the save is there, but he just doesn't get quite to it. And he dove the one way, and I'm like you said, I think he could have made a better effort on it.
No, I definitely agree that like I said, he should have saved it in my opinion. In terms of Tech and his career, we have to see how much he's grown. Number one, he was at Arsenal and he used to make blunders almost every single game, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
He went to Roma, and I was like, lol, they're signing some shit of a keeper, and he was one of the best keepers in Serie A. And when we picked him up, I was a bit shocked because I think around that same time we were all linked with Gigio, like Donnarumma.
Yep.
There's a talk about him and everything like that, and we get Wojciech all of a sudden. And then I was like, is he even going to settle for being a backup? Because that's what he was signed up for. And I respect that he was there for it. I think he learned a lot for Roma. He learned a lot at Juventus. So, to your point, if there are moments where he is needed, I think he has been there. He has been somewhat inconsistent from time to time. I do agree. Where there are some things where I'm like, oh man, he should have saved that. Or like, damn, like a goalkeeper should be better in that situation. Not necessarily with, conceding a goal, but decision making. And that comes with time. It comes with experience, obviously. But at the same time, when he's needed, he's been there for us. He's been there in some very big, crucial moments.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of like several games in my mind right now that it's like fucked me up, and it's not like coming to my mind, like literally the games, but I'm seeing the saves happen in my mind.
Yeah.
So it's happened before. Could he be more consistent? Yes. Should we be worried about the goalkeeper position? No, because that should be the least of our worries right now. We are covered with Wojciech and Buffon for another year. Yeah. I think we're covered in that direction. I'm not worried when it comes down to goal. I never even look at who's starting as goalkeeper. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's because it's either Tech or it's either Buffon. I have my trust in the both of them. So I'm like, okay, whoever starts. It's a matter of rotation or whatever it is,
Yeah.
But then when Pinsoglio starts getting in there, then
then everyone will notice.
then everyone will notice. I hope he plays the next 2 games, man.
I do.
He's not played a single game. He's not played a single game, and I really, he's like I think we pay him to be the third string, but we pay him mainly to be the hype man, because if you realize every single goal scored, he is the first one to be with the player that scored, and the players are the first one to run to him when they score. So he's a hype man, if anything, and it's great. I mean, you need that locker room presence. So I think he's obviously happy, settled into that role of not playing. But no, Tech and Buffon are the way to go. Obviously, Tech could do better. To your point, he's not going to be a Buffon. He's Wojciech Chesney, and I think he himself said that. I'm not going to be Buffon. I'm going to be me.
Yeah.
And I think he's come in clutch in several moments. I think the Roma game, for example, that's one of them. I think it was last year, that Roma game where he saved the
I
shot
know which one you're
Patrick
talking.
Schick.
Yeah.
So there have been moments like that. But in this specific situation, he should have done better. I think he should have done much better in this specific situation.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're scratching at a topic that when you're successful, you have the luxury of doing that.
Yeah.
I've noticed some, a little bit, even we give them that extension, and having the luxury, like I said, of Buffon is kind of skewing my mind a little bit because you can't necessarily expect, like you said, he's himself, he's not Buffon. So I think, when you keep thinking back to that, and then you're like, okay, he's making all these ridiculous saves and he's bailing us out. And don't get me wrong, Buffon's had his share of mistakes as well. Like, I'm not trying to say that Tech is the only one, but I don't know what it is. There's something about it that I think.
I think what,
like, even with the penalties, like the penalties, we haven't seen a lot of saves. I believe we've had like 11 penalties scored against us this year. As of obviously this game, I think.
I think what you're really missing in Tech, and I think the point that you're trying to bring up is that leadership in him, and where you're obviously used to seeing Buffon because he was our captain. He's still a captain in my mind. He's still a captain in my heart. Yes, I completely agree with you on that part where it comes down to the communication and commanding their line and everything like that, calling things out, yelling at the team. Like Buffon used to yell at the defenders. Like if they ever let anything not even true where he had to save it, he used to yell. He used to yell shit like, I shouldn't be having to save this.
Yeah. Like
I shouldn't be having to do all these things. So,
and you hear him yell. Like, don't get me wrong. I've heard Tech yell.
Yeah.
Like, now that there's no fans, like, you're definitely hearing. Like, I know when he's making the call. It just, every time I hear it, I'm just like, it's not the same. I don't know what it is in my mind, and maybe I'm just making something like making this a molehill, but something like, honestly, I don't know what it is, but it's just a little. I wanted to bring up, but it's like.
Well, yeah, I mean,
and again, it's nothing really that's important. I mean, hopefully, something doesn't happen where.
Now that you brought it up,
But.
No, but it's a valid point because I was talking to Al about this in the podcast I did with him. Is that us Juventini we were spoiled with Buffon. We were spoiled with a midfield of Pogba, Vidal, Marquisio, and Pirlo. So we use those as our like flagships.
Standard,
How many times have you said this season this midfield is not like MVP?
Yeah.
I'm sure maybe you've not necessarily said it, but it's come to your mind where shit, like this guy's not like Pogba, or damn it, this is like Pirlo wouldn't have done that. We use them as our flagship players. Yeah. Ramsey was brought in. The first thing I thought was, oh, he's gonna live up to Marquisio, hopefully. Like that's what we compare it to.
Yeah.
So us Juventini, we're used to seeing those types of things, and it's gonna happen when Chiellini leaves. It's gonna happen when certain players leave, certain leaders leave.
Yeah.
Because that's what they were. Our midfield, besides Pogba, in my opinion, Marquisio, Vidal, and Pirlo led that. They bossed that midfield.
Yeah.
Pogba was able to be Pogba at Juventus because he always knew he had at least two of those three at the back covering his ass.
Yeah.
He could do whatever he wanted, and then you had Vidal and Pirlo, or Vidal and Marquisio, or Pirlo, or whatever it was.
Yeah, exactly.
You had that covering. So I think we have spoiled ourselves. We have this bad habit. I do it as well, where we reference the past a lot. Where we're like, Buffon was like this. Tech needs to be more commanding, and Del Piero used to do this. Dybala needs to be like that. No. Dybala is Dybala. Del Piero is Del Piero. This is our midfield, the cards we play with. That's Tech. That's how we have to do it. And you know what? I mean, yes, he can do better. I think he's obviously, and I think you agree with me 100%.
Yeah.
He's decision moving forward. Like there's no doubt that is the position least of our concerns.
Right.
That goalkeeping decision or that goalkeeping position. But I do see where you're trying to bring it up, and I think we're discussing it a lot because it's an interesting topic to talk about when it comes down to it. But it's really not the big concern.
No,
And I
no,
also
not
want
at
to
all.
I also want to give credit to Fofana. Like he took advantage of the situation. I want to give credit to Udinese. I want to give credit to Fofana. He juked the players he needed to juke. He pulled it off. He scored the goal. Udinese won. I mean, it is what it is. But I don't want to take credit away from Fofana or a player that really busted himself to score like that. I'm not going to say, oh, he scored because the keeper didn't save
Wasn't good enough. Yeah.
Fofana really, that was a beautiful, good goal.
Yeah, like I said, he took advantage of the situation.
Exactly, he took advantage of the situation. Credit where credit's due.
All right, so let's get into obviously this new segment. Obviously, 3 up, 3 down. Obviously, our best players on the day, and obviously the 3 that you would, drop down, the 3 worst essentially. So for me, pretty obvious. Bernardeschi was just inexistent, and Ramsey was just not up to standard in that game at all. And now I'm starting to question: is this a guy that we need to, move on, or is this something that maybe he's just not getting it and it's just not working? And again, something where I'm sure there's another team that could use him. I'm sure there's another team that would want him, and move him on. My third piece is kind of a collective piece. Basically, everyone as a defensive unit was just atrocious in this game. I mean, literally, there could have been easy scenarios where we could have gotten out of those, mistakes that we made, and then the game is completely different. I would also even like to honorable mention our attack at the end was just literally seemed like us running with our head cut off, and just like doing nothing really. I think the best players you got to look at. I think Rabiot had a really good game. I think I would give Bentancur a lot of credit for that game, and I think kind of last 2. Obviously, Delict is always kind of on there, but I think Dybala again, kind of like if he doesn't play that game, it's completely different. Like you look at Lazio, I think even in this one, same thing. Just he's always on, man. He's always on.
For me, I think the bottom 3. I have Berna, Ramsey, Rugani. Rugani is just not the player he's used to be at Empoli days, where 0 yellow cards. He was an amazing defender and all that. It's just I think we expected a lot from him and wasn't maybe given the opportunity with Allegri, like we mentioned earlier, or he flopped with Allegri and just now he's just not doing well. In terms of my top 3, I would go like Dybala, Rabiot, and Montes. Bentancur, honorable mention, but I think he still lacks creativity. We needed that creative. I think we needed that creative spark. He does well holding things together, which is what you need, but you also need that creative spark. And I think he's lacking that just a bit. The midfield as a whole unit should be launching good passes, good balls. Stop this Pjanic bullshit of going left and right. Hell, pay me that money. I'll stand there and blast the ball left and right. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's what Pjanic has been doing. It was today actually where he shunned through with the assist to Ronaldo, and then he had a good ball to Higuain right after, like in the first half. So those are the balls that we need from Bentancur or from Pjanic or Arthur for whatever he's being brought in for, or like whatever role he's being brought in for.
Right. And I think you're spot on. I think this was kind of a wash too. This game, it was kind of like everyone was done. I think that's why you kind of saw the midfield the way it was, and the heads weren't really screwed on properly for this game. Let's get into obviously the post-match comments. Sarri obviously saying it's undeniable that it is now difficult to be physically efficient for 90 minutes. The matches are strange and have no definite logic. We must learn from this lesson. I'm not yet looking forward to the Champions League. Obviously, in the long run, the absence of Chiellini made itself felt. Even if not much was said about it, it would have been more than helpful. The season went like this, and we must go further. Obviously, we have Higuain out because of an injury, and he could have solved a game like this. He cannot appeal to injuries. However, there have been many. And a couple other things. In today's game, we lost order, wanted to win at all costs, and we started to get messy. I mean, pretty much, a bunch of things that we've kind of talked about earlier. He also goes on to say, 38 goals conceded. He was obviously brought up in an interview. Obviously, 12 penalties were against us. Sorry, not allowed. And it's a number that the big teams don't usually suffer. So kind of leaning on, we've had these, handballs and stuff like that. But I don't know, pretty straightforward. I don't know necessarily about how they can't stay mentally focused for 90 minutes, especially. I know we played a lot of games, but
I think it's the schedule, man. So I'll give you an example of myself. I used to play a lot. I used to play professionally for a while and then busted my ACL twice. But it was horrible. But when I used to play and we had a weekly schedule, mentally you could refresh your mind. You were able to refresh your mind. When you're playing games every 3 days, it does get exhausting, and you might be physically fit because it's your job to be in that physical state, but your body can only go so much, and your mind can also only go so much. Like Evra spoke about it in an interview once, where he said you need to be not only mentally fit but physically fit. But mental matters so much. You need to have a championship mentality, and it gets difficult. And if training is as rigorous as Evra has said and other players have said, imagine going through all of that every single day between games every 3 days. You know what I mean? So there is that mental strain that it takes on you, in my opinion. I've been through it before. But I feel like it's, we've heard it way too many times. The COVID schedule is not helping physicality and mentally. I think there are points that we had discussed already in regards to post-match comments. We discussed it just now while we were talking, the different things that, could have been or should have been. But I think Sarri does have work to do in terms of locker room management. I think that's not necessarily his biggest strength. Whereas, Conte and Allegri would, they had balls, like they would yell. I don't know what Sarri's like in the locker room, but Conte still today, even with Inter, he displays his emotion. Allegri wasn't like that much, but he still did it. Like, I still remember, I always bring it up. He fucking ripped his jacket off when we conceded a penalty in the 90th minute or whatever. That's the grinta, and I don't see that physically in Sarri. And don't get me wrong, he might be like that in the locker room, but I think it's a commanding thing to have. My boy always just chewing on the end of a cigarette butt. And I love. Did you see? By the way, it's off topic completely. Did you see the photos today of him with the champagne bottle, shaving cream, and the cigarette in his mouth? Dude, that's my mister. That's my coach. That's my manager.
He can't curb the habit, I guess. Even when you win the Scudetto, you still can't. You still can't curb that one, I guess. I don't know, man. That's just weird. Like, you'd think he would. He's got to drop that habit, or else he's going to be in a world of hurt. And when I mean, he's an older guy as it is, but
Yeah.
I want to bring up also, Paratici was talking at the end, or I think it was at the beginning of the game, one of the two. They were talking obviously about the club and whatnot, and he said at the end of the year when the balance sheets are drawn up, which I'm surprised they haven't drawn up the balance sheets already, because isn't the financial term done by now? But anyways, all of the clubs say that they've achieved their goals, but nobody says that their goal was the championship. So if nobody wants it, we take it willingly. I mean, you can't see, what pisses me off is they act like everyone else like chokes, and then like we say our goal is like the Champions League, and then like somehow double back every year when it doesn't happen. So that's the only thing that pisses me off about that. But it's like, okay, whatever. If you want to take the piss, that's fine.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I mean, in a sense, to be honest, because we're gonna get in. Obviously, we can't look forward to the next game because the game was played today.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm gonna be talking about that next with Maria. Obviously, that is well known, obviously, for her TikTok account and obviously online on Twitter. But so we'll talk about that actual game in a bit. But yeah, like in a sense, does winning more Scudetti not cheapen it a little bit? You know, after a while, like let's say you go and you win for 30 years in a row, right? What does that mean essentially? You know,
It means the competition in the league is not good.
you know what I'm saying? Like to me, I think the more we go in this, like the more we go without actually winning a Champions League, really cheapens the fact that we keep winning the league. Like I mean, because you look at the teams choking, and don't get me wrong, it's a hell of an achievement, but like I think we rest on our laurels, like we say, oh, it's a miracle what Agnelli did, and I mean, and then I'm like, but do you really think it is a miracle? I mean, we're one of the only teams that have our own stadium in Italy. We're one of the only teams that have such a massive backing by their parent, their owner, and you just have a bunch of teams that are just a bunch of chokers that have no real winners on it. That we can come back, and I've discussed this before. We've come back from 12th place. Like,
yeah,
you look at this year, we didn't even seem like we wanted to win it. Even last year, at moments towards the end, we didn't seem like we wanted to win it.
I mean, I want to mention though. What helped us a lot was Lazio screwing up. Lazio screwed up big.
And don't get me wrong, we'll get into the good stuff, and we'll talk about the success. But just
I think I understand your side of it, but I think personally for me, winning a Scudetto will never get old. It's a feeling. It's a feeling that you play that over 38 games. You play that over almost an entire year. It'll never get old in my opinion. It's a great feeling to be champions of Italy. Yes, I understand where you're coming from. If they win it 30 years in a row or 15, whatever you want to say, they win it so many times in a row, but we don't win Champions League. Doesn't that cheapen it? I don't agree with that because I think the competition in the league is just not at par when it comes down to players and stuff like that. And yeah, I do agree that we're the only team in Italy with a stadium, or one of the only teams with a stadium. We have the backing financially by we have big financial backing. Yes, I agree with all that. But the competition itself, I was happy that I saw Milan play like that. I'm happy Milan are doing well. Like, when it comes down to that point where you're happy that you're having competition, it just goes to show that the league as a whole needs to get better.
Right.
So
doesn't that, you know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think I just hit the realization now.
I agree what you're saying. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying winning Scudetti is old. Like, that's not my point. That's not my point of contention right now. My point is, you look at a league that we thought this year they were getting better, and they did in a sense, if you want to say it. It was a little bit closer, but I don't know. I think it's not a great look when you have these leagues like this. Like, I mean, as an owner of a club, right? If you're in a year where you're or in a era where you're taking advantage of a league that isn't there, and then you don't financially back it in a way where you could really, you should be really just focusing on Champions League. And I think, to be honest, we've made such excuses for why, this isn't, it was the luck of the draw, or this, or a foul, or a penalty in the last minute. I just think there's way too much, not malpractice, but there's not enough responsibility the club takes in their own, Everything's fine. Everybody's making money. Who cares? We're winning Scudetti. Well, what?
I think that's just more for the public eye, versus it being, you know,
I
we
don't
don't
know.
know what's going on in the locker rooms. Obviously, we don't know what's going on in management and everything like that. Obviously, as a manager, an owner, whatever it is, it's frowned upon if you go into a press conference and you're like, "Oh yeah, we had Champions League as a goal. We didn't achieve it because of you know we played shitty," for
Yeah.
example. You need to phrase things in a way where it makes your club still look professional.
Yes, but when you okay, but think about it like this. If you say every year you're like, you know what, I'm gonna make X amount of dollars, right? And every year you fall short. What looks more credible? What sounds more professional? Me
Hustle harder.
me, no, but you know what I'm saying? Like what
Yeah.
looks more professional? You coming out and throwing a face onto the media, which they know you're BSing the whole time anyways, because really everyone sees the product on the pitch.
Yeah.
It's not like these games are played behind closed doors. Everybody knows what's going on the field.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, for you to come out at the beginning of the season and say, yes, we're gonna act like a brand and this, that's kind of that's what we got to start looking at. I mean, don't get me wrong. Let's celebrate this. 9 straight, unbelievable. But there's a certain point where you got to start looking, at other things. Like you celebrate, like any good team does, and then you move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
It's like to me, like in hockey or in football, American football or whatever. You win that game, you win the playoff game, you celebrate. Okay, now let's get back to work.
Yeah.
This is Juventus. Winning doesn't stop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we got to keep thinking about the next thing we're winning.
Vincere è la unica cosa che conta.
Exactly, man. So it's almost like we get in this like little like clouded bubble, and then everything goes, and then we kind of go back. We get back to it,
Yeah.
or obviously because Champions League at this point would have been, we would have known if we were out or not.
Yeah.
If everything was normal, right? So
I mean, we would have been playing what? The Euro Cup would have been over as well.
well, exactly, right? So it would have been a little bit. Obviously, we're in a little bit different times.
Yeah, it's a very different, weird times.
So now we can look at and say, okay, well, now we know what our next objective is. Now everyone can kind of collectively
So
look
now,
towards that.
now I have a question for you.
Go ahead, man.
After Lyon game, should we progress? Which hopefully we do. We should. Games are going to be one leg only. Do you think we are going to do better in a situation like that or not?
I don't know, man. It really depends who we play. I mean, if we're playing Man City next, let's just say, hypothetically,
Hmm.
or if we're playing, okay, either or. If we're playing Madrid or we're playing Man City, I think Man City we got. Like, I don't know what it is. I just don't think English teams are very, like, they look all this, like, they look ferocious. It's almost like you're looking at a tiger, but they have, like, the heart of a chicken. The courage of it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
really, like, I don't see them, like, they're all bark but no bite.
Mhm.
And they look really good. And I just think Guardiola is just fraudiola in a sense. I don't know why everybody wants this guy so badly. I guarantee you he would have thrown a tantrum and would have been crying if that he wasn't getting his right signings if he was our coach this year.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. I mean, the guy, like you said, he spent over $1 billion just to get, and he still hasn't won a Champions League. That in itself just shows me you're incapable. You were in a perfect scenario at Barcelona.
Yeah.
Everything came together perfectly. So I think that's possible. Real Madrid, I think, would be a little bit different because of the Ronaldo factor. And I'm tired of playing Real Madrid, so I really don't hope we don't have to play those guys again.
It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I mean, I think we are going to have we're on the tough side of the spectrum.
Exactly, because then Bayern next. Like, let's say potentially it's Bayern next. Like,
it'll be Bayern next, and then it'll be either PSG or Atalanta, in my opinion.
I think Atletico's got a show too because they can play those like gritty like
true. I mean, the
bullshit 0-0 games.
The 1-game fixtures are really, it works in their favor. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, typically we perform better over the two legs, not the one. So we'll see how it goes. Maybe it'll help that it's in a neutral stadium. Maybe it'll help that it's in Portugal, where with Ronaldo. I don't know, but we'll see how it goes. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's either give me the L, like just give it to me already,
right away.
or let's catch the dub. Like that's kind of where we're at with this.
I mean, anything can happen. Like I said, it's really. But like I said, to me, Bayern is a tough test because.
Oh, Bayern will be very difficult. I think if we progress
That's-
through Man City or Madrid, Bayern will be the toughest team to play because they have been in form. Lewandowski is just ruthless in front of goal. Absolutely ruthless in front of goal. It's a shame the Ballon d'Or is not happening this year. He would have won it, in my opinion.
Well, I don't know if he would have won it because you know how fucking.
Yeah, true. I mean, he would have been top three.
That bullshit works.
If they did this correctly, he would have been top three for sure because he
But-
has been ruthless this season.
Yeah, no, I definitely think he should have won it. I think he's definitely been the best player so far. Yeah, I definitely agree that they should be giving that out. I think it's a crock of shit, and they're trying to mask because Ronaldo. Well, I mean, Ronaldo's been good, but I don't think he's been great. And that's kind of funny saying it with 31 goals, obviously.
Right? And Chino had to go ahead and score a hat trick to screw it
Yeah,
up. For him.
exactly.
So the next two
you
games,
know what?
Ronaldo is going to say, "Play me." Ronaldo is going to want to play.
Well, exactly, and it's like, honestly, I don't care. I don't think Capo Carinieri, whatever. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more of a personal thing.
as a Juve fan, I could give a rat's ass, to be honest, if he won it or
Of
not.
course. I mean, if he won it or not, it's not. It's like whatever. But I think it's more of like a personal thing for him to achieve. Okay, this is his second season. He's achieved 30+ goals already. Now he wants to win top scorer of the league.
Oh, just win top scorer of the Champions League, and that's good enough for me.
Hey,
And
that's even better for me.
win the Champions League. That's all I care about.
That's even better for me. If we win the Champions League this year, I told Al, if we win the Champions League this year, I'm going to do the Ronaldo hair. That's why I've grown it out. I have long enough hair to do the Ronaldo hair. So,
Yeah, man, do it. Let's do it. Let's get. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do. I gotta get those. I've been seeing all these Del Piero like sideburn
No,
going. I think we gotta get this going. I think we gotta get
back,
this going.
bring it back again. Oh,
But
man.
he's had some pretty interesting ones. I mean,
Yeah.
he's
He's had the one
some-
with like the spike coming out. I can't
Yeah.
remember that.
so
Yeah,
we're
I
gonna-
remember. And the weird goatee, like the goatee and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we gotta
Yeah,
bring
good
that
time.
back.
Yeah, I don't know if I could pull it off, but quarantine, man, it's like maybe the best time to try this shit out. Social
Yeah,
distancing.
I was gonna say you're not gonna run into anyone for a little while now, at least. So
I mean, it's 2020, man. It's been a dry year. Might as well.
exactly. So yeah, let's get into obviously. We'll talk. There's been a couple questions obviously we're throwing out.
Yeah, go for it.
But obviously, who's your MVP of the season? These are all from Rocco Fasano, obviously. Co-founder of Bianconeri YYZ, and I thank him for putting that out there. So appreciate it, Rocco.
Matthijs de Ligt for me. I spoke about it earlier. I mean, Ronaldo and Dybala are good shouts, honorable mentions, but Matthijs. I mean, Ronaldo obviously scored the 31 goals. We wouldn't have won the league without him, but we would have been in shambles defensively without De Ligt. He started off rough, but he's become a flagship name in the team, and he's only 20. It's his first season, and he's the first person I would put in my starting lineup defensively. So to me, Matthijs de Ligt MVP for me.
Yeah, it's a good shout. I think I gotta go Dybala just because from where he came, like from where he was at day one at this season, and now where he is now. I think I agree 100%. Incredible. I think defenders always kind of get screwed in that. Like obviously, besides the Twitter world and obviously the fans talking about defenders always get screwed in that kind of conversation of MVP because it's not like they're going to be scoring the majority of the goals. I mean, they can put up a good tally, but it would be pretty shocking if the defender was the difference maker every game offensively, right? So I think Dybala's had an unbelievable season. leave the stats to the side because I don't think it tells the whole story.
Yeah.
Even though he scored quite a bit and
Yeah, he
assisted
scored a
quite a bit
lot
as
more
well.
than he scored and assisted a lot more than last year. I mean, it's also what he brings to the pitch mentally. Like Dybala,
Exactly.
we've seen it. I mentioned it before. He's such a game changer. Well, come on, 60th minute, all of a sudden it's like a new gear is like
Oh yeah.
a switch has been flipped. You
Yeah.
know, so he does have it in him. He doesn't give up. He really, really like portrays that fino alla fine mentality, which is something I love about him. But I think De Ligt is just my shout for it. He's amazing, amazing.
I think that's a great choice. I can't really disagree with that. I think it's fair. It would be a fair shout if
Yeah.
that were to be the case. Obviously, next question: will Ronaldo break Higuain's record? Obviously, will he pass Lewandowski? Obviously, now looking at it because we're a little bit ahead in time. I don't think that's gonna happen.
Higuain's record was 36, right?
I believe that's
So
correct.
he needs 5 in 2 games.
Yes.
I'd lean more towards no, but never say never with Ronaldo.
True enough. It could be a
I would
blow up.
lean more towards no. Cheeto Immobile obviously has the better chance of breaking it because he's at 34. But I think I'm leaning towards no, but never say never with Cristiano.
Yeah. And then I think Lewandowski was what? Was he? I wasn't 100% sure of how close they were. I don't see it happening.
Like this season, how many he scored?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a certain percentage they take out of it because of the different leagues have different coefficients or whatever. I'm not sure if Germany has the same. I'm pretty sure they got the same coefficient. But
Actually, genuinely curious how many goals he's scored.
so he's got 34 now.
Okay, he's got 34 goals. I mean, yeah, in Bundes. Okay, yeah. Can he beat Lewa? I mean, again, never say never. If he's able to pull it off, amazing, absolutely amazing. But then again, there have been so many times where I'm just amazed with what Ronaldo can produce sometimes. So
Exactly. And I think that would be incredible. I mean, I think Immobile is in the pole position right now.
Yeah.
Because really he only, I think, needs the one goal. And
he needs 2 to tie. I think he has 36. He's going at 36, and Immobile has 34 goals.
In terms of goals and boots.
Like that. Yeah. He'll beat it. I
think he's in pole position unless he has 2 stinkers in a row, which maybe it's possible, but
I think if Lazio gets any penalty, it'll go straight to Immobile to take any opportunity that they can give him. I think they will, because at this point they know they're gonna end up, not winning. Yeah. So they'll be like, oh, we can help them out. Oh, you never know, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's obviously another question. I think it's pretty, important. Whose Scudetto is this? Dybala's Scudetto. A lot of people like to associate, certain seasons with a player. Is it Sarri's Scudetto? Is it the fan Scudetto? Is it,
I think this is COVID Scudetto. No, good question. I think it's difficult to say this is Sarri's Scudetto because the mentality and everything is still not instilled into it. Yeah. I am so happy that he won. I'm so happy for him.
Yeah.
I think he deserves it after all the years that he's played. I mean, coached or managed. I'm very happy that he won.
Especially how close they got with Napoli, at least.
Exactly. Right? So I'm very happy. That video of him and Chelsea with the medal and looking at it always touches my heart. Seeing him smile, everyone's like celebrating off to the side, and he's just looking at the medal and smiling. It really goes to show that he's put hard work into it. Is it Sarri's Scudetto? I don't think so. If we were to associate it with anyone, I would go with Ronaldo just because of his goal scoring this season.
See, I think I'm going to take it a little bit of a different approach. I think this is our Scudetto. I think this is the fan Scudetto. I think this is for everybody who's been through a hard time through the past whatever months. I think this is for all the people that have been, going back and forth on Twitter, how shitty we've actually kind of played.
Yeah,
And I think it's nice for everyone to now be like, let's celebrate, let's party. We
yeah,
won the ninth. Okay, we've been kind of trash, but you know what? Who cares? Fuck it. A win's a win.
yeah. Wins a win
And
at this point.
you know, we're nine straight, and
Hmm.
now we can go for 10 straight.
Yeah,
And now a little bit of a weight has been lifted off the shoulders. But because obviously with the past, month not knowing how it was gonna go, and obviously some scares in between. But no, I think this is for us, man. I think Ronaldo's won enough. He doesn't need this credited to him.
yeah,
Dybala, I think I would have given it. Sarri Scudetto, like you said, I think you can't. It's nice the moment that it is his
yeah,
first, but too much kind of back and forth to really give it to him.
yeah,
But yeah, no, I think this is for us. I mean, the past 2 years have been hectic, man.
yeah. It has. It
Even
really
three, even
has.
even three, if you look at it,
Yeah,
there's been a lot. The Allegri out movement, the whole drama of who's going to be the
I,
coach, and you
yeah,
know, obviously, losing Cardiff and then coming back, and the games against Madrid. I think this is all for us guys, and we got to enjoy it. Like you said,
yeah. No,
you
hundred
don't know when
percent.
it's gonna you don't know when it's gonna end. You
Yeah.
don't know when it's gonna continue. Um,
Every Scudetto, in my opinion, needs to be savored. Like
oh yeah,
we are Juventus fans. A lot of us, our age that have been fans for a while. We've been through some hell with this team. Like we've been through Calciopoli. We went through
right.
the years afterwards with the banter, and that I'll still never forget that title. It was like the team able to masturbate Juventus or some shit like that when we lost in the
Yeah,
Europa, I think it was. It was like masturbate. I was like, are you? Oh, it was Juve unable to masturbate. I was like, what? Like, well, Bate, that's the team,
yeah.
but they used. I was like, why would you do that? No, we've been through a lot. Losing 4-0 to Fulham, like there's so many moments that come to mind. Um, Jorge Martinez, all these like we've been through shit.
Melo.
Oh man, Melo, oh man, and we've been through shit, and I think we deserve it as fans. I think we should savor it. I'm happy, Congratulations to you. Congratulations to everyone listening. Even though we're not discussing the game that we
Yeah.
won it in,
Oh yeah.
I think it's a good shout to say congratulations because the season has been hell. So relax for the next two games because the Champions League now is going to be the real roller coaster.
Yep. Exactly. And that's kind of what Rocco touches on next. So obviously not how do you approach the next three games because obviously we played today,
Yeah.
but how do you approach the next two games? Is there going to be some kind of special prep for UCL, or is there going to be a massive rotation? Obviously Ronaldo's going to be
Yeah.
pushing to get those goals, right? So, um,
I
how do you
think
see it?
I think rotate to some extent. Allow the players that need a rest to rest. So fuck it, rest Alexandro because he needs it. Rest De Ligt because of his shoulder injury. Rest Dybala because of the thigh today. Rest the
Right.
players that need it because of their injuries or whatever they're nursing. But still rotate them in if they're able to. Get
Right.
Chiellini back into form because we're gonna need him for the Champions League. Even if he doesn't start, we're gonna need him there should anything go wrong. Throw in some of the guys that you have on your UCL list. Play Demiral. Demiral needs minutes. You need to warm those legs up of those players that have not played, but also keep the legs warm of the players that have been playing.
Yeah. No, I agree
I think
100%.
that's the approach to take for the next two games in
Rotation,
the second half.
rotation, rotation. Make
Yeah,
sure everyone's staying fit. Make sure everyone's
yeah.
staying,
Hmm.
engaged, and
I think
just
that
keep
is the
moving.
most important thing to do, and take these games, lightly in the sense that we lose, we lose. Fuck it, we already won the Scudetto. Take this as games to play, and obviously play carefully and cautiously because we cannot afford any injuries.
Right, and one game at a time, guys.
Yeah,
No
one
need,
game
no
at a
need,
time.
no need to look ahead. We still
Yeah,
need to we still need to beat Lyon, and that's
yeah.
it.
Hmm.
Um, obviously, I do have some other questions.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rafa. I appreciate it. Obviously, I wish I could have got this before. Because one of the questions is, do you think we will win the Scudetto? Will we have an epic meltdown? Well, we can confirm on this show that
Well,
is
we
not.
won. We won. Epic meltdown would have happened. Could have happened. Very, very much so.
And obviously, what do you think about Sadi being? Obviously, do you think he should still be sacked, or what's your opinion on that?
I think Sadi should stay. I'm part of the team of him staying. I believe that he has a good mindset tactically, like in the sense that I like Sadi ball. It took a while for it to instill in Napoli. I think it can be done at Juventus. He just needs the right players. Hopefully, we're able to supply it. I would give Sadi one more year. And if he's unable to do it, then I will consider sacking.
Yeah, exactly. I agree 100%. Umaid from the WhatsApp group. Obviously, again, all these guys, well, barring Rocco, but most of us are all obviously in this group, and we like to chat all the time. He goes, obviously, your thoughts on MDL having more goals. Obviously, we covered that before, so check it out earlier. But obviously, why can't we make a single successful cross? Is it time we finally bought some decent fullbacks? Now, I'll just start off by saying I don't think it's the fullbacks are the problem. I just think that we don't have anyone up top to do anything with those crosses. It has nothing to do with the fullbacks at all.
Yeah, there's only one person up there that can handle those headers, and it's Ronaldo. And you can't have just one person trying to do that. If your tactic is to push it to the wings and cross it, you need players that are able to address those crosses or meet those crosses. You're talking about the Miliks, you're talking about Lewa, you're talking about those kinds of guys. Like at Madrid, Ronaldo had Benzema, he had Bale, who are both good options to cross to. They can handle the ball well. We don't unfortunately have that. Dybala is short. He's not. It's not. I'm not saying it won't happen or never will happen, but when you're looking for people in the box, you're looking for the big guys, and Ronaldo is the only one we have right now. If we had Mandzukic, it would be different because Mandzukic is a tower of a header.
Yeah.
So it's a different story. I don't think it's the fullbacks. I think they should be able to cross better sometimes, yes, but we should be able to, should that be a game plan, we should be able to build off of it by purchasing the right player.
Right, exactly. And guys, again, thank you for the questions. Again, I tried not to forget to throw those in, even those last ones. Again, thank you, Rocco, for those great questions. But let's get into a little bit more personal. Kind of the last segments of the show. Give us your most memorable Juve, maybe even most memorable Scudetto winning Juve moment. Obviously, I know we've talked about going to the stadium, and I hope you get to go one day, man.
One day I will.
It's a hell of a time.
I can only imagine.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I also have a little obviously. I thought of this before, so now we've been going up, obviously, these numbers. We're on podcast number 24. Let's hear, who's your favorite Juve player who's worn the number 24? And I'll give you some names, because
give me some names, because right now Rugani is instilled into my mind.
Exactly. I was gonna get
I'm like, who else is worn the number 24?
Now there hasn't been a ton of players that have worn the number 24 because it's up there. We're not talking about 1 through 10 anymore, and obviously that's kind of an old school way. Obviously you're 1 through your 10, but obviously, like you said, Rugani, number 24, current number 24. Mattia Vitale was obviously worn number 24. Wasim Boy, another 24.
Wasim Boy, I know him.
There you go, man. See, there you go, number 24.
I personally know him.
Obviously, another big, key, I would say, to the original winning squad, Emanuele Giaccherini.
Oh, Giaccherini. Obviously, I love him.
Then we've had some, okay players. We've had, obviously, Ruben Oliveira, Emiliano Moretti, Raffaele Ametrano, and Marcello Zalaeta.
I have to give it to Giaccherini. I think my mind's made. I love Giaccherini.
Also Enzo Maresca as well. So he was a key kind of player. He wore it, I think, only for 2 years, but he was number 24.
When did he play?
Ooh, Maresca?
Yeah.
99. Don't you remember Maresca?
Bro, I was. Oh yeah. I know those were like my younger kid years. I think I think Giaccherini is. I loved him. I still love him.
I was gonna say.
I fucking love that guy.
Oh yeah.
Like
I mean,
I still like till today in FIFA. I signed him as a utility player. I
it
love the
works,
kid.
man. It
I
works.
love
Like
him. It
honestly,
works.
you look at that squad and those guys that we could bring in, and
Yeah.
it's
No,
just
no,
such a
Giaccherini.
different feel. Such a
Yeah.
different feel. I would have to agree. I'd have to agree on that one. But then yeah, let's get back to it. You know, your favorite, obviously, like I said, could be favorite most memorable Juve moment or even story.
Of this season or just in general?
In general, I mean, there's been a lot of people who've been coming on. They've been dropping stories about going to games in obviously North
Yeah.
America or meeting certain players, obviously here
I
or there.
so my okay. I have
Maybe
two.
tell the story about Wasim Boy. Hey,
Oh, I've known him for a while though. That's through people, and one of my friends is his girlfriend or was his girlfriend. I don't know if they're still dating. And he's played here and stuff like that, so I know him a bunch of times.
that's great.
I would go with two moments, memorable moments, because I really can't distinguish them. My first game was in New York in 2011-2012 season. I have the shirt up there. I met the entire team. It's crazy. My shirt is signed by all the players of back then that were there at least. You know, the Del Piero. I have a great photo with Del Piero. He's signing my shirt, and it ended up in like an Italian newspaper somewhere. Not Gazzetta. I don't know which one it was, but I ended up in there. I have a beautiful photo with Marchisio, with Chiellini, Matri. You know, so it was great meeting them. And then I went to my first game that night at where in Queens, I think it was MetLife Stadium or something it was called, where the Mets play. We watched the game there. Second memorable moment was Tottenham versus Juventus at Wembley. I was there for that game, and I was sitting in the Tottenham section. It was me, my cousin, and three random Juventus fans who I didn't know were Juventus fans until Higuain scored. And it was just a bunch of Tottenham fans. And now I don't know if you've been to any games in England, but some of these guys are rowdy as fuck. And you know, we're sitting there watching the game, Tottenham score, and me and my cousin are like, shit, like fuck.
You might have to get out of here, yeah.
Oh shit. So and again, we're sitting there covered up. No one knows we're Juve fans because you can't show that you're a Juve, like you can't show you're an opposing fan. So we were sitting there, like Tottenham scored. I was just sitting there. I was like, shit. Change comes in. Higuain scores, and then you know how you do that silent, like yes.
Yeah.
That's what me and my cousin did. We're like, fuck yeah. And then I look to the left because my cousin's sitting on my left. I look to the left. I go, fuck yeah. And I see the other three people there. They're like, so I looked at them. I was like, wait, are you Juve fans? I pulled my jacket down and I showed them the logo. They were like, and they pulled their jacket down too. So we're like, oh shit, there's five of us just happen to be in the same row together, covering us up. And then Dybala scored 2 minutes after, and we lost our shit. At that point, we didn't give a fuck if we got kicked out. We jumped. My cousin threw his water bottle in the air. Some Tottenham fans were like, yeah, fucking wankers. And then a bunch of others were like, a bunch of others started recording us. The steward came and told us to calm down. Like, it was
really?
Yeah, because they were like, you're not supposed to even be here. Because I started pulling my fucking jacket off, bro. I was like, I'm showing my jersey.
Yeah, you're supposed to be in church when you go to an English game, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that happened. And then after the game, you know, we won. After the game, I spent like 2 hours outside of Wembley with Juve fans. And we were just singing and yelling. And we were, you know, it's just toxic as hell. But we were flicking off the Tottenham fans. Like, we were having a good time. And then I went back home, like around my area with a few of the Juventini, and we went to the bars, like the local pubs and stuff. Yeah. We were drinking, we were hanging out. It was a good time. It was solid. I definitely enjoyed it. Definitely a memorable experience for me when it comes down to it. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. No, like it's because I think it's pretty far to get from like central London to get to Tottenham Stadium? Isn't it like kind of out there?
Wembley. It's about like a 50-minute tube ride. Like 50 minutes. Like on
Oh yeah,
game
that's
day
right. It was
especially.
Wembley. That's right.
On
That's
on
right.
game day especially because there's more stops sometimes, and the tube is full. So
Yeah.
if you miss one, which you will, I waited like 6 trains before I could get onto mine.
Before you could get in.
Yeah. So
Jesus.
and that also you squeeze in. You literally squeeze in, and you're just like this the entire time. So I mean, it is what it is.
But that's
But yeah,
sick. Oh, that's awesome.
it was so much fun. It was, and my cousin's not even a Juve fan. He's a Chelsea fan. And
But
he
still.
said that was honestly that was his first Champions League game ever as well. I had been to Champions League games before in Manchester. I went for a few games because Man City Stadium, the Etihad is always available. Like literally, always get seats there. And so
Shout out.
so I've been to Champions League games before, but that moment at Wembley was amazing. Like I think that whole experience as a whole, meeting the random Juve fans and sharing the love for the team was great.
Yeah, that's sick, man. I mean, what a perfect game to go to in your first champ for. I mean, so is he a Juve fan now or what? Did you convert him?
I mean, he's still a big Chelsea fan, but he is very, very like Juventus follower. He follows them.
That's
at least,
all right.
So.
That's all right. I mean, that's like I said, that's a pretty sweet game to go to. I mean, I think I was in like.
He loved it. He loved it. He learned the anthems and everything like that. It was crazy. It was such a good experience.
Yeah, and I was up north in Canada burning my data, trying to just listen to see if we were gonna go through or not, because it was literally just unbelievable how that happened in the span of 10 minutes. But
no, it was crazy. Like just those 5 minutes itself from and that shows Allegri is the tactician. He has that mind where he saw the flaws in it. He put Lisandro Asamoah on like that. Game changed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it was good. It was a nice experience, and I think if I were going to this season. I watched the first fixture of Inter versus Juve in New York with Weston, who's a really good friend of mine. He's on Twitter, always talking about Bernie Sanders and politics, but he's a big Juve fan. I went to watch it with him at I always forget the New York meetup place. I think it's like King's, or that might be the London place. I don't know. But went there, Football Factory.
There you go. Yeah.
Something like that. And it was a nice time. Like we had a good time. Obviously, we won that game, and it was good. I was there with a bunch of random Juve fans. Weston and his girlfriend was there as well, and it was a good time. So I think those kind of summarize my memorable moments.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. That's some great storytelling there.
Sure.
So I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on, Kash.
Oh no, thank you for having me. And again, it sucked that like it worked out this way, where it's a few days after the game. But hey, I mean, we're able to discuss it and reflect back. We won the 9th fucking Scudetto. We're stronger with the 9, apparently. That's the hashtag for the day. But no, it's been one hell of a season. It's not been easy, and I think you're right. This Scudetto really is for us, for the fans, and we celebrate it now. We take the Champions League and make it ours, and then we win the 10th in a row next year. That's the mentality we need.
Yeah, wouldn't that be special? Eh? Yeah. So guys, again, as always, Juventinita DAL on Twitter, Instagram, obviously Juventinita. Back to Black and White Podcast on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify. Again, guys, please, if you guys can help me out, move those numbers up, because I know you guys are watching it. There's about 53% of you that are watching them, but you're not subscribed. So hit the damn subscribe button, guys. But anyways, no, again, we get more guests on, get more obviously viewership, and we can do different collabs with different guests. But and I think there's some interesting things coming up in the works. But yeah, definitely, guys, check it out. Obviously, stay tuned to Twitter. That's kind of the hub of where, when everything gets dropped first. And obviously the links are posted for those 3. again, if anyone's on Google Podcasts, it's up there now, so you're good to go. And yeah, definitely going to talk the post game, obviously with Maria, like I said. Hopefully it's still tonight. But yeah, we'll talk about the game, and we'll obviously talk about the Scudetto and hashtag stronger. I don't know what this fucking media team's doing, but
Dude, it could have been so
whatever.
many. There's so many other options we could have gone with. But
I swear, it's like we've been discussing this like for the past 4 years of what they actually could have had some.
All right,
pretty
they probably
sick-
have it planned out for the next like.
Oh yeah, exactly. So
Right, it is what
I
it
mean, it is what it is. I'm gonna buy the T-shirt anyways.
is.
So whatever it is, like I said, no problem there. But again, guys, always stay tuned to Twitter and obviously all the platforms. And like you just said it, always fino alla fine. Forza Juventus. Ciao, guys. Thanks for watching.
Take care, everyone.